Hello and welcome to our flip video lesson, Stories and Games, lesson 7.11. Our lesson 7.11 details Human Odyssey reading pages 255 to 258, your student guide workbook pages 232 to 234, your OMS assignment 7.11, and then about the topic, Greek literature and sports. Today's learning lesson objectives. Describe the Iliad and the Odyssey. Describe the purpose and events of the original Olympic Games. Identify Homer and recognize the work of archaeologists in gaining information on ancient Greece. Lesson introduction, stories and games. The Greeks celebrated human potential in many ways. In poems and stories, they paid tribute to qualities like bravery, determination, and resourcefulness. Two of the most famous stories of ancient Greece are the Iliad and the Odyssey, epic poems in which the poet Homer recounts events of the Trojan War and the hero Odysseus' long and difficult journey home from war. The Greeks also celebrated the human body, admiring athletes as much as they did philosophers and statesmen. Every 4 years, they held athletic competitions at the foot of Mount Olympus to honor the gods. Today, Olympic Games are directly descended from the Greek Olympiads. Your student guide questions. Go ahead and open your student guide to page 234. We're going to go ahead and watch a couple videos as you're filling in your information. So as always, if you need to pause this page to get those questions filled in, please feel free to do so. Question number 1. Who was Homer? Homer was the blind poet believed to have written the Iliad and the Odyssey. And we'll go ahead and take a quick pause and watch a video on Homer.
Homer is the author of the classic literary works of the Iliad and the Odyssey, and is considered to be the greatest epic poet in history. Homer's poems have had a huge influence on the history of literature. As Homer's poems were passed from generation to generation by means of oral communication, it is difficult for historians to date the works, but it is generally accepted that the Iliad and the Odyssey were written by Homer around the 8th century BC. The Iliad tells the legendary story of the First Trojan War, and the Odyssey tells the story of the hero Odysseus' journey home to Ithaca after the war was over. The stories were first written down in Greek, but have now been translated into almost every modern language, and are still the basis of many studies on Western literature. There is a great deal of debate between historians and scholars as to when and where Homer lived, and even whether he actually existed at all, as almost nothing is known about the life of the historical Homer, although his works are some of the most studied in history. Despite this, the influence of the works on Western literature is unparalleled, and the poems are still studied to this day.
Question number 2. The Iliad and Odyssey are two of the most famous epic poems in Western literature. Question number 3. What is the Iliad about? The Iliad tells the story of the last year of the Trojan Wars. The Trojan Wars began when Paris, the son of King Troy, kidnapped Helen, the wife of Sparta's king Menelaus. Troy became the site of a 10-year war as the Greeks tried to win back Helen and avenge the king's honor. Some of the Greek soldiers hid in a wooden horse, and others offered the horse as a gift to the king of Troy. Once the wooden horse was within the walls of Troy, the soldiers emerged and attacked the city, winning the war. And we're going to go ahead and watch a quick video on that. And where the video starts off is basically when this Trojan horse was delivered. So there had been years of war prior to this scene. This is obviously going to be a movie, not the real event. But this shows the story of the Trojan horse. And let's go ahead and watch that now.
To Poseidon. The Greeks are praying for a safe return home. This is a gift. We should take it to the temple of Poseidon.
I think we should burn it.
Burn it, my prince. It's a gift to the gods.
Father, burn it.
Okay, and question number 4. Who did Homer celebrate in the Iliad? The Iliad celebrates the determined Greeks who waged war to win Helen back, and the embattled Trojans who fought nobly to fend off the invaders. At the center of the epic were Achilles, bravest and strongest of the Greeks, Hector, the bravest of the Troy defenders. Question number 5. What is the Odyssey about? The Odyssey tells the story of the Greek hero Odysseus. During Odyssey's journey home from the Trojan War, he encounters dangers, monsters, and angry gods. He uses his quick wit and cleverness to get home safely to his wife and son. And I find it interesting that our reading book is called The Human Odyssey. So basically, this is the human travels and the things that humans encounter along the way. Question number 6. What is the Odyssey a celebration of? The Odyssey celebrates human ability in the face of grave dangers. And I'm sure in literature, as you get older into the upper grades, you will learn more about the Iliad and the Odyssey. Question number 7. The Greeks admired their athletes as much as their statesmen or philosophers. How did the Olympic contests celebrate humans? The Olympic contest celebrated male physical excellence. Question number 9. What were some of the Olympic events? Olympic events included running, wrestling, long jump, javelin toss, discus throwing, boxing, and chariot races. And we're going to go ahead and pause here for another minute, and we're going to watch a video on the origins of the Olympics.
Thousands of years in the making, what began as part of a religious festival honoring the Greek god Zeus in the rural Greek town of Olympia has today become the greatest show of sporting excellence on Earth. The inception date in 776 BC became the basis for the Greeks' earliest calendar, where time was marked in 4-year increments called Olympiads. What could it be? Why, it's the Olympic Games, of course. Competition fosters excellence, or so thought the ancient Greeks. In addition to sporting events, contests were held for music, singing, and poetry. You can read about them all yourself in classical literary works like Homer's Iliad and Virgil's Aeneid. Even mythical heroes appreciate a good contest every now and then, wouldn't you say? For the first 13 games, the ancient Greek Olympics featured just one event, the 200-yard dash. But over time, new, exciting contests like boxing, chariot and mule racing, and even a foot race where the competitors wore a full suit of armor enticed many hopeful champions into the Olympic Stadium. The combined running, jumping, wrestling, javelin throwing, and hurling the discus event known as the pentathlon inspired world-class competition. And the pankration, a no-holds-barred fight where only biting and eye-gouging were prohibited, ensured the toughest men were victorious. And victorious they were. Nobody tops the local baker Coroebus, who in 776 BC became the very first Olympic champion. And we'll never forget Orsippus of Megara, the 720 BC Olympic victor who tore away his loincloth so he could race unimpeded, inaugurating the ancient Greek tradition of competing in the nude. Now there's a winning streak, if ever we've seen one. But all good things must end. In 391 AD, the Christian Roman Emperor Theodosius banned pagan practices, so the world soon bid a fond farewell to the Olympic Games.
But just like those early pankration athletes, you can't keep a good one down. And 1,500 years later, in 1896, the modern Olympic Games kicked off in Athens, Greece. Today, the Summer and Winter Olympics bring international world-class athletes together by the thousands, uniting fans by the billions for the world's foremost sporting competition. Citius, Altius, Photius, 3 cheers for the Olympics.
Question number 10. What evidence indicates that the ancient Greeks participated in the Olympic Games? The Greeks depicted athletes and sporting events on pottery, coins, and in statues. The Greeks wrote poems about the Olympic competitors and compiled lists of victors' names. They inscribed the most glorious Olympic achievements on gravestones, stone slabs, and bronze plaques. And here we come to our reading pages again. Make sure it's important that you're always doing your reading for these lessons. Reading pages 255 to 258. They kind of bring together all the information. Important words to understand. Epic. A lot of times we hear epic and we're like, oh, that's epic, meaning like amazing. But epic actually is a long narrative poem that is elevated and dignified in theme, tone, and style. So it basically has some kind of theme. It's considered a long poem, but it's like a story based around something. Grave danger. If a situation is grave, it is serious and sad, like when a loved one is very sick. Grave can also describe causing fear or anxiety. If you are in grave danger, your personal safety is threatened. Victor means a winner. So if you're a victor, that means you're a winner in something. Archaeologist is a person who studies human history and prehistory through the excavation of sites and the analysis of artifacts and other physical remains. Here we come to our quote section. This was said by George Allen. Winning can be defined as the science of being totally prepared. Thought that was fitting for our lesson for today. Thanks so much for joining me. As always, believe in yourself, stay strong, never give up, be grateful, work hard, stay humble, be kind, and keep smiling. Have an amazing day. Thanks so much for joining me.